record on the. Hello and welcome to another edition of Stager Insights. Today, my guest is Janet Engel, and we are going to have an interesting conversation. And it's one that's going to bring me a lot of pleasure, and I hope for the listeners a lot for you too, because this is the way of the future that's happening now. What we do know about the aging population is that there are about 10,000 people turning 65 every day. So between now and the next 6-7 years, you're going to have a huge demographic of North American population that will be considered aging. And these are the people who have homes and they're wanting to stay in their homes with the cost of healthcare going up. Lots of situations that are happening within the world of living in a house. So I wanted to invite Janet to talk about this and how it fits with staging and what we can do, and some courses that we're going to work together with, bringing for everybody. So welcome, Janet. And maybe we could start by talking about how you got into this sort of field and a little bit more about the program.
Yes, I'd love to. Thank you, Christine,
You're
for
welcome.
having me.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure. I love talking to anyone who's interested in aging in place or universal design. So the way that I came to being an aging in place specialist is my background. I'm an occupational therapist. I've been an occupational therapist for about 13 years. I worked primarily with older adults in the home health setting. And so I went to people's homes and evaluated how they live in their home, how they function in their home. You know, that really is the bread and butter of an occupational therapist, is to see how the person, the environment, and the task all come together. And when the person has a change in their abilities, then how can we change or modify the task or the environment so that that person can either be independent again or be as independent as possible. So I've always been very passionate about the home. I love doing DIY projects. That's how I learned a lot about all kinds of different things like staining, stenciling. As you can see, my background, that was a stencil that I did. And I love design. And so I thought, well, how can I marry my two passions, which is being an occupational therapist, actually three passions, being an OT, the home, and helping people. And so I learned about the Certified Aging in Place certification, which was created by the National Association of Home Builders back in 2002. And as soon as I heard about it, I did some research and I became a student. And I haven't looked back since. My professional life has just completely changed. It used to be this big, working in the medical field, and now it's this big. And I get to work with many different professionals, some in the healthcare field, but now I get to work with stagers, I get to work with architects, with realtors, with designers, with builders, and just apply my OT expertise in a different way, and really focus on the home and helping people live better lives, especially as they age.
And I think, like, thanks for that. I think that, generally people think of occupational therapists as part of the medical field, helping people maybe after they've had an accident or a stroke.
Yeah.
Certainly we were involved with them when my mom had a stroke. And so to not really understanding the work that an occupational therapist does within the home. Again, we thought it was like working with the actual patient and getting them more mobile, but there were many aspects that affected the way we had to adapt the house to be able to have, mom to live at home during the rehabilitation time. So, when I heard you speak about this subject, I started to think about how important it would be for someone who is a staging practitioner to give recommendations to people who are getting their houses ready for sale, because of something that you said in terms of people looking to buy a property that's already adapted. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So the reality is that less than 5% of homes, at least in the US, have any accessibility features or universal design features, which means that they have at least one zero-step entrance, have half a bathroom on the first floor. So having a home that is accessible is extremely important, not just for the aging population, but also for children, or people with disabilities. Having a home that is universally designed is also going to increase your home value. So the reason why I mention how important it is to have homes that are accessible is because our aging population, as you said, we have 10,000 baby boomers a day turning age 65. This is going to continue to happen until the year 2030. And then after that, we're going to have Generation Xers that are also going to be getting older, right? And really, aging in place starts at the age of 40. People think maybe it starts at 65, but it actually starts at the age of 40. So a lot of us are already aging in place, myself included. I'm 45. So if you have that many baby boomers that are running around, and they may still be moving. When I say people aging in place, I don't necessarily mean that you're going to remain in the home that you've lived in for the last 30 years. No, you may still want to move to another home, right? And you want to make that home friendly for aging in place. And if so many of us are aging at the same time, then obviously homes that are universally designed or have some aging in place features like a curbless shower, for example, that falls under both aging in place design and universal design, then that home is going to be more marketable. And then beyond what's behind the walls and, where you place the toilet and the shower, you have the whole layout of the house, the design of the home, the colors that we use. All of that plays a huge role in making the home safer. And so that's where professionals like stagers, decorators, interior designers can all take advantage of this growing need.
So let's talk a little bit more about the CAP certification program that you teach, because it comes in modules. Maybe we can start with the different modules and what is actually taught there.
Yes, so we have 3 modules. And CAPS 1, it's about communicating with the aging in place client. So it really educates the student on what the statistics are, the demographics of home ownership. Okay, what percentage of home improvement sales is being spent by the age demographic over 50. We also talk about the aging stock, why this presents an opportunity for aging in place professionals. The reality is that most homes were 2/3 of homes were built before 1980, and 40% were built before the 1970s. So our homes are old and in desperate need of being remodeled, right? As many of us know. I experience this all the time working in home health. So there's a lot of opportunity simply because of the aging stock. Then we can talk about the wealth that the baby boomers own. They own most of the wealth in this country.
Yep.
So tremendous opportunity, and 80% of them own their homes. Okay, so in CAPS 1, we talk about all of that so that the student, the aging in place professional, has a foundation which they can speak from when they are selling their services and marketing their services. In CAPS 2, we learn about how to design for the aging in place client. So we learn about accessible design. We also learn about universal design. We learn about visitable design, livable design. And we really talk about, first we talk about the business aspect of being an aging in place professional. We also talk about insurance to protect you against legal issues. And then we go into the nitty gritty where we're talking about ramps, we talk about elevators, we talk about the kitchen, the bathroom, we talk about air quality, all of these different aspects. We talk about lighting, because aging in place encompasses all of those.
Yeah.
And then we have CAPS 3, where we put all of our knowledge into practice, and we have scenarios that we work through. And we just go into extensively into how to create modifications that are going to help people be independent and kind of troubleshoot, you know, through all of these different areas. So it's complicated, but it's fun. And a lot of professionals, because we have professionals from all fields, like real estate agents, we have designers, we have healthcare professionals, builders, architects, then everyone comes in with a different perspective. And it really just teaches other people in the class that, oh, you know, this professional will focus on X, Y, and Z, you know, where the healthcare professional will focus more on B and C.
Yeah. I think there's so much application for this across so many niche markets that currently exist within the staging industry. And the least, not the least of which is short-term rental, vacation design.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of wealth, as you said, with the baby boomers. These are the people who are controlling the wealth of the country, but they also travel the most. And just like the houses for the past 100 years have been built for that stereotypical couple with a couple of kids and a dog type of thing, all the short-term rentals are not really tuned into the fact that the aging demographic is going to have an effect on their business long term. So I just feel, you know, it's not just senior residents. There are so many age groups that are affected by this. And I found it fascinating, like when you talk about universal design, you know, as I mentioned to you earlier, I've always thought of that as being something you study when you are building a new house. But there are ways to modify within the house that people live in to make it accessible for everyone, which is what universal design is about, right?
Yeah, making it usable for a person regardless of their age, size, or abilities.
So within the 3 modules, are there exams at the end of each module, or is it one at the end of all 3?
There is one exam at the end of each module. It's a 25-question multiple choice test, and it's open book. As we go through the material, I am very forthcoming about what's the material that is on the test, just to make it easier on the students, because it is like drinking from a fire hose. So, and you know, to be fair, like myself, when I went through it as an occupational therapist, there were parts of the courses that were very easy for me, as coming from a standpoint of a clinician. And then when you talked about construction, it was totally a different language. So, so knowing what's on the test is helpful, because there's no way that I'm going to, you know, learn what floor joists and ceiling joists are in the 15 minutes you went over it. So
right. So, but I also see, like, we have a certification program for project management in residential renovations, and that was another sort of aha for me. It was like, oh my God, you need to know about this element as well. I just feel that no matter which discipline, it's not just, residential senior move management.
Yeah.
It's life, and it's coming faster than a speeding bullet. And the people who see the big picture, who are looking at this from an opportunity perspective, not someone who's thinking, oh my God, this is the next, trendy thing that's going to happen. This is with us long term.
Yeah.
And I think that, like you've talked about the construction industry being aware of it, that's becoming more builder grade, where we have to look at that. And it doesn't mean grab bars in the bathroom only,
Right.
I know one of my very first staging jobs was for an apartment where there was grab bars throughout the house, but also the raised toilet. And I thought, oh, great, we can clean these and make this, leave them, and the real estate agent said, oh no, we want them out of here because we don't want people to think that they're going to need them in the future. And I was like, and there's no, at that point, it was like 20 odd years ago. I rolled with the punch, and I'm like, okay, the real estate agent knows what we're talking about. But now I see the empowerment of the staging professional becoming more educated in the way that people live in houses. And that's where our expertise comes into play. We live, and we are living differently in houses, and particularly since COVID.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I was about to say that nothing became more apparent than when we lived through COVID, and we literally had to live in our houses. We had to sleep. We had to teach our kids. We had to do our work in our houses. Everything was done at home. And personally, I told you, I love the home. I'm very passionate about the home. So I have always seen the home as, that's your haven. Like, your home has to be, it has to tell the story of you, of your life, the things that you like, the things that make you happy. But I think after COVID, a lot more people feel that way.
Yes. Well, the thing is, I always say, is before COVID, so it was BC.
Yeah.
It was, the house was where we resided, and we left to go to work. We left to go to the gym. We left to go to the movies. We left to, to take the kids to school. And then after COVID, AC, we are now saying our house has to be all of those things and more.
Yeah.
And more, right? Even if you have only a balcony, even that outdoor space is critical to your mental health. And to be able to manage through that isolation time.
Yeah.
Because for sure, we know this world is already ramping up for, COVID 202 or whatever's going to be happening next. So God forbid that we have to have shut down again of the world, but we do need to manage our own health and well-being within the confines of the building structure that we reside in.
And that's a perfect lead in to what a point that I wanted to make was that 1/3 of all falls that occur happen because there are hazards in the home. And did you know that a person over the age of 65 falls every second of every day?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And 1 in 4 people will have a significant injury because of a fall. It's the #1 reason why older adults end up in the hospital. And the 2 most common injuries from a fall is a hip fracture and a traumatic brain injury, which the traumatic brain injury can change your life in a second.
Yes.
Right? And the hip fracture, most likely it can be fixed, but 25% of people who undergo hip surgery from a hip fracture will die within that year. So that's significant.
Wow.
Your risk of dying skyrocketed 25% because you fell and you broke your hip. So what does that tell you? That preventing a fall is the single most important thing an older adult can do to retain their quality of life and their independence and continue to have choices as we age.
Yeah. So sort of winding this up for our listeners, and is really both you and I talked offline and before in different situations where we see this as being a golden opportunity for the staging industry to embrace this and start leadership in that entry point of getting that property ready for sale. And then perhaps helping as people move forward into the properties that they purchase.
Yeah.
Because I find in most of the statistics that I've looked at, people generally move 12 to 15 miles from where they currently live. So you are still that same service provider, and then you be able to expand out your business that way. You know, there's so much opportunity. So I'm really excited that you're bringing this training to our academy, and we will be, when is your first class? I can't remember what you said now.
I have classes going on right now. You can take CAPS 2 and CAPS 3 without having taken CAPS 1.
Okay.
But CAPS 2 and CAPS 3 have to be taken sequentially. It can be completed, the certification, in as little as 3 days. Because each class is from 9 to 5. So you do have to take a day off to do it. You don't have to do it in 3 consecutive days. You can do it as your schedule allows. I teach several times a month, every month. I'm also teaching, this month I'm teaching on 3 consecutive Fridays to help professionals. For example, when I took it, I didn't do it in a row because I worked full time. So I did it in about 5 weeks. But it's very flexible, and there's no homework. Someone asked me that question, so
That's a great question, actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
never
very
thought
affordable.
about that. There's no homework. All you have to do is take the test, and you have 2 days to take the test after you finish the class. So it's very flexible, and then you earn 6 CEUs per class. So that's a total of 18 CEUs, and you come out with the Certified Aging in Place certificate, which is you know, it really is valuable. The NAHB, as you know, is a very powerful organization and has been around for a long time. And this program has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's actually going through its 3rd rewrite. So it's definitely been updated. And it's the most recognized aging in place certification that's out there because it's backed by the NAHB.
That's awesome. So for those of you who are listening to this message, you'll go to stagingtraining.com, and under our continuing ed and on-demand segment is where you're going to find the landing page and the details for the Certified Aging in Place Specialist training. And that's with Janet. That's going to be awesome. I'm so
and
excited.
I'd like to extend a discount for all of your members, a 10% discount, and we'll provide the code. So yes, I'd be happy to have staging professionals in my class and learn about your field.
That's awesome. I look forward to it. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Christine.